Welcome, one and all. I'm Decoy, and I've got some interesting news for you today. Of course, coming out of the news of last week with Bethesda's attempt at removing Legacies in the PTS, those plans seem to be full steam ahead on removing Legacies. But there is a large group of players that isn't happy about this. So much so that they're starting to do petitions. And I've seen quite a few of these pop up. Now, to be fair, I've only really checked one website, which I know doesn't really speak to all the petitions out there. But I would wager there's quite a few more floating around on different websites. Now, this one right here, I mean, their goal is to get to 500. They're at 4 something. They're pretty darn close to their goal. And that's not the only petition from the one website. There's a few others. This is just one of the bigger ones. And what's getting me right now is with the community itself, you have the side with the Legacies. They're pretty angry, and they're at a point where a lot of them are threatening to leave, canceling their Fallout First subscriptions. And then on the other side of that, you have the group of players that's cheering that these players are going away. But the thing is, a lot of those players that are leaving and going away, they weren't really the malicious, toxic ones. That number of the group was far smaller, but they were really noticeable. So it's kind of disheartening that one portion of the community is cheering that we're losing players, which isn't a really good look for our community overall. But there is something really important to get into when it comes to all these players that are leaving. So let's go off of the idea of the first petition where the goal is to get to 500. Let's say that 500 is the number of people with Fallout First who leave the game. Do you realize that's $50,000 that just left? And to be honest, I feel like 500 is a rather lowball number. I mean, I could be wrong. I'm no expert on the subject. I'm just kind of thinking 500 seems a bit low because we are talking about a really sensitive subject, and a lot of the Legacy players put a lot of time and effort into collecting Legacies. I mean, that's kind of been the end game for many OG players. Well, let's see if I can go get some of the rarest things out there. Even though they've been duped, that doesn't mean they're easy to get your hands on. There's a lot of work involved unless you're just going to go out there and do a real money transaction, which technically is against the terms of service. But yeah, so 500 people leave. That's $50,000. That's a kind of a lowball number. So if 1,000 people leaves, we're in the six figures. $100,000 gone. I mean, if 2,500 people that have Fallout First quit the game, that is $250,000 that is no longer going into this game. That's money that can't be fed back into it for development, fixing problems. It's pretty bad. And I sincerely hope for the community as a whole that the group of people that is cheering about losing people is about to become extremely active on trying to bring more people in, because if you lose all these people and all this revenue just vanishes, someone's got to fill the gaps, or the game as a whole is about to suffer. It might not be extremely noticeable at first, but I really feel like in the long term, if these numbers can't be recovered, it is going to be a big problem. And this might not be a popular idea, but this is something that's been rattling around in the back of my mind, that it may very well get to a point where the only way they can really get the sustainable numbers they want and the amount of money they want after a big loss may be to consider going free to play, which ironically will anger an entirely different group of people and probably force them to quit. So, I mean, it's like a domino effect. So, we'll see how things play out. But as it stands, there's a lot of money that is about to disappear out of the game, and there's no happy ending, at least in the short term. It's going to be pretty devastating, to be brutally honest here. So I will say this much: for those of you who are interested in signing one of the petitions, I have links in the video description for all of the petitions that I briefly showed during the video. So if you want to help them reach their goals and try to get your voice heard, by all means, go check them out. Help those people out. And, I mean, let's be honest. The amount of people that actually go and sign the petition is much smaller than the amount of the community that, you know, won't sign the petition but will likely leave the game. So we'll see how things go moving forward. But I feel like we're on the precipice right now. And there was a much, much better way to handle the situation. But it would have required a little bit more effort. I'd love to know your thoughts on all of this. Hop down in the comments. Let me know. Do you think this is going to be a death blow? Just a nail in the coffin? Or do you think it'll recover quickly, slowly? How many players do you think are actually going to leave, and how much money? I hope you've enjoyed this. Please remember to like, sub, and share. Later.